Did you know that every dismissive avoidant attachment style tends to look for three very specific things before committing to a long-term relationship of any kind, even including friendship? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what those three things tend to be and why they matter so much to a dismissive avoidant, even if they don't voice them. So, here's the first big one that often happens quite frequently, and it is this deep need for acceptance. Dismissive avoidants literally get repulsed and need to run away from people they find to be very critical, very demanding, very judgmental. All of these things are huge red flags to a dismissive avoidant. And on the periphery can even include things like people who gossip a lot, people who complain too much about other people in their lives. All of those things cause the dismissive avoidant to go into super protective mode of themselves and how much they allow themselves to be seen and known by others because they're so deeply afraid of that happening to them. Dismissive avoidance, because they often grow up in a household where there's childhood emotional neglect, go into their relationship dynamics very much fearing that they will feel the same type of shame they felt as a child when they yearned for needs and they were vulnerable and those needs couldn't get met. And they often made it mean, well, there must be something wrong with me that I can't get my needs met. I must be the problem. And so, because they have this deep underlying fear and belief in that, they don't want people to get too close to them, especially not people who seem to give off that air of judgment or condemnation or anything like that. So acceptance is something they're looking for. And it doesn't mean somebody can't communicate that they do have a need or that something's important to them. It just means that they're definitely looking for somebody to be able to do that in a kind, respectful, harmonious, and non-judgmental way. And a really clear difference, just so you can see how that looks, is the difference between saying something to somebody like, you don't care about me, you never text me enough, what's wrong with you? And coming at this place from criticism, nobody else is like this that I've dated, like those types of comments versus saying something like, hey, I'd love if we can work on consistency in our relationship because having consistent communication goes a long way for me and makes me feel super connected and loved. So if you communicate from that second space, it's called positive framing, you are going to be communicating in a way where you're doing it from an attitude of acceptance and it's not coming across as harsh or critical or anything of that nature. Okay. Number two, and this is something dismissive avoidants often test a little bit earlier on into relationships, but they are definitely looking to see if somebody has the capacity to be emotionally stable. People in relationships who they find to be very volatile, too hot and cold, too early, too frequently, too much drama in a relationship, a lack of emotional harmony and reason and stability, all of those things cause a dismissive avoidant to want to run away because they already really value their comfort zone and don't like stepping outside of it. And so to add to that mix, the potential that somebody could, make them feel so highly uncomfortable all the time by constantly having conflict or drama or taking them on a roller coaster in relationships, all of these things tend to cause them to want to run away. So having that ability to be emotionally stable is something dismissive avoidants very much vet for. And they often vet for how people are going to react by dropping in things they're scared that people will react to. So, for example, I've heard many dismissive avoidants. I'll tell you a story of one client specifically. I had a client once who told me that when he starts to feel like he was really interested in somebody, what he ends up doing is, let's say it's 2, 3 months in, and he's like, okay, I could really see myself potentially being with this person longer term. He will literally pull away and like kind of go offline and have a little bit of radio silence just to see how intensely that person's going to react. And if it turns into like a volcanic eruption and a huge issue, then he would end up in a situation where he's like, okay, let me backtrack here. Maybe that wasn't the right decision or the right approach. But if instead the person's able to take it in stride, maybe, sets a boundary, says that they don't want that to happen again, but is able to move on and approach the situation in a healthy way, then he would see that as a green flag. And he would say that he would literally do this because he knows that sometimes when he would go into, a tough spot or have a lot on his plate, that he would retreat a little during stressful situations. So he wanted to basically vet a partner to see how well they could handle this. Now, again, this is not supposed to be a video of like, hey, you should do this. Just be okay with everything. No, have a conversation. If you see that somebody is, doing something you don't like or they're not meeting a need, have a conversation, set a healthy boundary, communicate what your need is, but do it in a healthy way. And that's not only going to have a greater chance that the relationship can work out with a dismissive avoidant, but it honestly, whether or not this is happening with anybody in your life of any attachment style, It's really important to get good at articulating your needs in healthy ways and then vetting how somebody responds to see if you want to stick around in that relationship dynamic. And this brings me to number three, but I do just want to let you know before I tell you number three, if you want to do a deeper dive into any of this content, we have really in-depth healing programs for any attachment style and also programs for how to reconnect with somebody of a different attachment style. And you can check all of those out fully for free just for a limited time because we are running a really cool promotion right now where you can spin, you can click the link below, spin this fun little thing, and then you can get a free membership to PDS. You can get a 14-day free trial to all of our courses where you can definitely have the time to go through a good chunk of that program. You can really like go in there, try stuff out. There's also an option that's a free trial plus a course you get to keep for life. So if you want to win any of that, including even a free membership, use the link below and check it out. Number three, every avoidant secretly looks for somebody who understands their need for freedom. Okay. Dismissive avoidants want to make sure that somebody has their own sense of self, their own sense of identity, has their own friends or hobbies or career or life going on so that they know that they can keep the relationship to themselves and their life too. They are deeply afraid of being engulfed or trapped with the wrong person, and especially with somebody who's too demanding or expectant of their time because they really need to have their sense of self and hobbies and interests on their own time. And that is something they absolutely vet for before making any kind of commitment. It's like one of the things that they're looking for is basically a non-negotiable. So making sure that you do have that if you are somebody who is in a relationship to a dismissive avoidant is honestly healthy for you because if you become too codependent on that person, they're going to probably make you feel not like they are able to meet your needs. And codependency doesn't create functional relationships long term. And of course, if the understanding for freedom is so intense that like the person doesn't even show up in the relationship, you should be reconsidering that relationship. But making sure that you have your own sense of self and needs and identity, and then being able to communicate what you do need from this person and seeing if they're able to meet you halfway from that vetting perspective as well is something that will be extremely beneficial for both people in the relationship long term. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by and for watching. If you don't want to miss any of our daily videos out here, all about the different attachment styles or any of the cool, fun promotions that we have going on, where you can get courses for free or even the potential for free memberships, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And thank you so much for watching.